They changed the contract, they made a trade easier, and then they shut the door anyway. That's what makes this so interesting. Because when Jimmy Haslam stood up and defended Myles Garrett, it wasn't just support, it was a declaration. And it tells you exactly how the Cleveland Browns are thinking, whether it makes sense or not. On the surface, the logic is simple. Garrett is elite, maybe the best defensive player in football, a game wrecker, a unicorn, in Haslam's words. You don't trade that, not if you're trying to win. But here's where the tension kicks in. Because everything else about Cleveland says they're not ready to win. Uncertainty at quarterback, a 5-12 record, a roster still searching for identity, and yet they're treating Garrett like the final piece, not a trade chip. That's the conflict. Because around the league, when a team isn't close, stars like Garrett become leverage. You flip dominance into draft capital. You reset the timeline. But the Browns, they're doubling down. That's the turning point. Because this isn't just about keeping a player, it's about choosing a direction. And Cleveland is choosing to believe. Believe that Garrett's prime still aligns with their window. Believe that the roster can catch up fast enough. Believe that holding the best defender in football is more valuable than multiple first-round picks. That's a gamble, a big one. Because the contract restructure changed everything. It quietly removed barriers, it made a deal possible. And once that door opens, teams start calling aggressively. So for Haslam to shut it down publicly, that's not hesitation, that's commitment. But it also raises the stakes because if you keep Garrett, you have to justify it. Now the pressure shifts to the rest of the roster, to the quarterback room, to the coaching staff, to every decision that follows. Because wasting a player like Garrett isn't just a football failure, it's an organizational one. And there's another layer here. Garrett hasn't been loud, he hasn't fueled the rumors, he's stayed mostly silent. But silence in situations like this, it creates its own pressure. Because if the Browns struggle again, those questions don't disappear. They get louder. And next time, the leverage might not be as clean. So this decision, keeping him, building around him, it sounds strong. It sounds confident, but it also locks Cleveland into a very specific path. No reset, no rebuild, no excuses. Because when you choose to keep the best defender in football, you're also choosing to prove you're close enough to matter. And now, the Browns have to show it, or risk turning their biggest strength into their biggest missed opportunity.